Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Now, Jim, before we go any further,
yes,
you introduced me as Jordan Bateman, but Justin Trudeau has convinced me I now want to be known as Jordan Bate People. Jordan Bate People. So if you could just make that change, that would be great.
You couldn't be Jordan Bate Human?
No, Bate People. That is the preferred. I'd hate to get into a fight with Canada's most noted feminist, so Bate People will be my name from now on.
Jordan. I'll call you Jordan from now on. Jordan, the BC Liberals have picked a new leader. What's your impression of Andrew Wilkinson?
Well, Wilkinson is a steady performer. He's been in his second term as MLA, former Advanced Education Minister, also briefly BC's Attorney General. You're not going to find a better resume than Andrew Wilkinson's. I mean, a lawyer, a doctor, spent time in some rural situations in British Columbia practicing medicine. Brilliantly intelligent guy. Reminds me a little bit of Gordon Campbell, in the early years. A little bit awkward socially. Kind of has that air of being the smartest guy in the room, which isn't always great, especially when you're trying to connect with voters. But, hopefully he can kind of break through that and find a little bit of a charm offensive.
Now, of course, to me, in the Liberal leadership debate, he seemed to be the sharpest tool in the shed. Well,
that's true. I would say that, as far as, standing up to Weaver and Horgan in that debate that's going to happen, 3 years from now at election time, he's probably the best bet of those six. The key, though, is can he connect with the individuals? Can he connect with the average person? I think you and I would agree that those debates are becoming less and less important. And it's more about how the grassroots are activated, how social media works, all of those things that connect to people.
Well, if just connecting to people, you'd think Diane Watts would have had the advantage there.
Yeah, we need to remember that the BC Liberal leadership is, or BC Liberal membership is a small group of people, right? 60,000 people or so. A lot of them are party workers, party volunteers, donors over the years, people who helped build the party. And look, there's no way Diane could get around it. The positive side is she came in as an outsider candidate, which is an attractive thing. But the flip side of that is that she's an outsider. She hasn't been building the party. She hasn't been building networks within the membership. I'm sure, I know for a fact there was people in Surrey who, felt like, they were all running campaigns all these years and Diane Watts had not been terribly helpful. So, that's the flip side of being the outsider candidate, is the fact that you don't have those deep networks within the party apparatus.
She could divorce herself, though, from the mess that ICBC, British Columbia's government car insurance program, mess that's been developed where they're over $1 billion in the hole.
Well, absolutely. That would be the advantage of having an outsider. Even Michael Lee probably could have done that as well. And now Andrew Wilkinson has to come up with better answers. So, yeah, that'll be tricky for the Liberals to move past. The NDP have, of course, a vested interest in making sure that, everything that happens in the next 4 years, it seems like a response to, bad BC Liberal decisions. Not that I'm defending their decisions on ICBC because many of them were atrocious. But, yeah, that'll be the trick for Andrew Wilkinson. Can he put a stamp on the party? Can he, convince people that they're under new management? I think Diane Watts' campaign made a mistake by not bringing up the closed speech more. That generated a lot of anger in the grassroots of the BC Liberals when, in the dying days of the Clark regime, they seemed to abandon a lot of the things that they just run on. I think there was political hay to make there, but I know Diane's campaign just didn't seem willing to do it.
Well, from what I saw and heard, I didn't see her come up with anything.
No, I mean, it was a disappointing campaign for Diane Watts, absolutely. She was a former mayor of Surrey, but didn't really seem to talk much about the successes that happened there under her watch, her ability to bring people together. It just kind of became this mumbo-jumbo of, we want to work together because working together is how you work together. We'll work hard at working together. Not really a compelling thing to try to sell to party members, many of whom are still in shock that, they did all this work to get these guys elected. They won, the most seats in the House, and yet somehow they're not in government.
Well, did many people perceive her just to be another Christy Clark?
Yeah, that was one of the kind of themes that came up from some people. I don't see it that way. Christy was I find Christy to be far more of a political animal than Diane is. And Christy had, been on the radio and kind of built that little bit of a populist bent, whereas I'm not sure Diane had done that same thing. So yeah, that's definitely part of the overall calculation for these guys. Is, how did this work? And there's no doubt about it. At the beginning of this, I would have said this is Diane Watts' campaign to lose, and apparently she did.
What does Wilkinson have to do to get the BC Liberals back into power?
Well, the first thing he needs to do is make sure the caucus is united. One of the kind of underreported stories around Diane Watts' campaign is that there were a few BC Liberal MLAs who were kind of hinting that maybe they would sit as independents. Maybe they weren't that keen on working with her. That would have been absolutely disastrous, to have the party split like that. So, that would have been problematic. He needs to unite that caucus. He needs to put together a solid plan. And he needs to give this sounds kind of strange, but he needs to give the NDP time to make some mistakes, right? I think they've blundered on the Trans Mountain Pipeline issue. I know you and I are going to talk more about that. Those are the kind of opportunities that he needs to exploit. But, with a new government, you kind of have to wait till they step in it before you can jump all over them.
How does the business community perceive Wilkinson?
Yeah, Wilkinson is considered is a safe pick. We know what he stands for. He came out and, he's a very dedicated free enterpriser, which is good. He's already holding them to account on Trans Mountain. That's also good. There's no discomfort with him, in any way. He's a predictable guy. He, being a doctor and being a lawyer, he also believes in, evidence-based decision-making, things like that. We think we have, good economic arguments on our side for the things that we want to see go forward, and we're hoping that he'll be responsive to at least talking about them, and we'll go from there.
In the age of Me Too, any chances of skeletons coming up in his past?
I have not heard of any rumors or anything like that, so that seems unlikely, but you never know. I mean, it's it's one of those things that obviously is a phenomenon, and as more and more women feel comfortable and see that there's actual ramifications of coming forward, that the men that have done these things are actually being held to account. That's such a huge shift from what's happened in the past, that it's going to empower more women to come forward. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but I've not heard any rumors of that, and I do not believe that he would be the what was it? Warren Kinsella was rumoring the high-profile federal person who will shock the world when they hear these allegations. Although days and days have gone by since he wrote that, and we've heard nothing.
Well, the BC Liberals certainly aren't immune to something like that. If you go back to Gordon Wilson, Judy Tyabji.
Yeah, good point. Although kind of amazing now to think that Wilson and Tyabji have been married for, what has it been, 25 years now? It's BC politics. Crazy, right? That's, there's always been rumors of things going on with different premiers in the past, but we'll, have to see what happens from here. I know that, in light of the Patrick Brown incident, the premier or the opposition leader of Nova Scotia, and some of the, Kent Hare, there's a lot of soul searching going on, and rightfully so. So until until someone comes forward, you just don't know about anyone.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman, or as he would like to say now, Jordan Bate Person. Jordan, we now have a trade war brewing between BC and Alberta over the issue of getting Alberta oil to the BC coastline. Alberta now has said it will not import any more BC wine, and that's millions of dollars worth of business down the drain for BC's orchards and vineyards. What is the solution going to be, and what do you see happening with this thing if it isn't quickly resolved?
Well, frankly, the solution is John Horgan needs to back down. He's in the wrong here. He is wildly exceeding his jurisdictional powers. He's acting contrary to the Canadian Constitution, which lays out which level of government is responsible for what. And he's basically challenging the Albertans or the federal government to take him to court to prove, to get him to follow the law. That's not the kind of leadership that British Columbia should have. I mean, he's a hypocrite. He's on CBC today. CBC.ca is a story about how he says that, Rachel Notley shouldn't be boycotting wine. She should be taking BC to court if she disagrees with their decision. Well, this guy has moved to these stall tactics because I think he realizes that his own court case against Trans Mountain is flimsy at best and not likely to stop the pipeline. So amazing to me that John Horgan thinks it's fine for him to damage other businesses in Canada, but when Rachel Notley stands up for her side, all of a sudden, he cries and whines and says that she should go to court. It's kind of embarrassing, frankly, from John Horgan, who had done some good work in Asia, trying to convince investors to come to Canada and spend money here, and then he's in the air, about to arrive home after what was hopefully a fairly successful trip, and he's already spitting in the face of investors who have federal approvals, 194 conditions, spent 29 months in the approval process, and got the Trudeau government to sign off. So, interesting times for the government of British Columbia.
Could you see Ottawa getting a court order of some kind saying cease and desist? All the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed. Get on with it.
They should do it quick, sooner than later. The problem is Ottawa seems completely bum-puzzled about what to do. They just do not know how to act, do not know where to go. But, they need to stand up. They've made the decision. They approved this pipeline. Now they need to stick by it, and that means, talking John Horgan down. This is going to get a lot worse, I think, before it gets any better.
Well, under the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, a company can sue a government if its efforts ruin that company's efforts to make a profit. I could see Trans Mountain suing BC for the $75 million a month they're losing while this pipeline is not built.
Yeah, absolutely. British Columbia could be sued for bad faith. If it is not constitutional, as most scholars believe, they could be sued for violating the law. You're talking about millions and millions and millions, potentially billions of dollars that BC taxpayers would be on the hook for. But, to John Horgan, it doesn't matter. He's got to prove that he's doing the right stuff, so off we go.
Well, also, the disagreement with Alberta affects Site C because there were negotiations for Alberta to purchase that power, and the Alberta government has canceled those talks.
Yep, those talks have been canceled. My suspicion is Notley will come out with something else today. Maybe she'll ban British Columbians from going to West Edmonton Mall. Who knows? Maybe British Columbians won't be allowed to buy Connor McDavid T-shirts. Whatever it is, she's just going to continue to ramp up pressure step by step. And there is historic precedence. Former Alberta premiers have stopped oil from flowing to other parts of the country in order to make a point. Do any of us think that perhaps she could do the same here? Absolutely.
Well, there is a Chevron.
Stopping pipeline for 2 weeks would just absolutely plunge our economy into chaos.
Well, sure. There's the Chevron refinery in Burnaby that's using that oil right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even if it's it's not 100% of the oil we use in BC, but it's enough that it would cause a price shock, would cause all sorts of issues. So, yeah, she's got the hammer here. I think Horgan has mismeasured her. I think he thought that she would back down, or maybe she really did hate the pipeline, or she would fall back on typical NDP tactics. But Rachel Notley has come to the conclusion that she absolutely needs this pipeline to go forward. It's vitally important for her province's economy, and more power to her. She's working hard to get it done.
Is it a surprise it's an NDP government fighting an NDP government?
Yeah, it is a surprise, and I guess they have a big convention next week or something in Ottawa. That'll be awkward with BC people and Alberta people at each other's throats. If Horgan and Notley are there, but it's also an opportunity. Like if you're Justin Trudeau, have Horgan and Notley come in. Bring them both to Ottawa. Sit down with them. See if you can broker some sort of deal. They need to ratchet down this the rhetoric somehow. When you're the federal government, it's your job to make sure these provinces are getting along.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after the break.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateperson.
Now you're getting it.
Now we're getting it.
Oh, breaking news. Justin Trudeau says it was all just a joke. He makes these unfunny jokes. So apparently he's not the great feminist we thought. We can all use the term mankind. So I will now return to being Jordan Bateman.
Man, what a relief.
Whew, what a funny guy Prime Minister Trudeau is.
Yeah, well, I guess he's getting his jokes from the same guy who writes so-called jokes for Donald Trump, where the word treason now is the punchline to a joke.
I can't believe Donald Trump hasn't tweeted about people kind yet. It seems like the kind of thing he'd be all over, but maybe, especially since it was on Fox and Friends, you think he would have seen it. So
yeah,
who knows?
Jordan, the Vancouver race for mayor will be interesting this fall because Gregor Robertson will not be running again. He hasn't said why he's stepping down. The usual more time with family. What family? He's divorced.
I believe he is stepping down because he has polophobia, where he looks at the polls and realizes that his political death is about to come. So better to surrender than to be killed, I guess.
Well, Bob Mackin has also found that Gregor Robertson has 6,200 private emails on a private server instead of using the government server for government business. So he's got a bit of a Hillary Clinton hanging over himself as well. The privacy commissioner said those emails must be released in June.
Well, that'll be interesting to see what's in those. Look, 6,200 emails, probably 6,000 of them are just routine random things, but the 200 that will have all the juicy stuff will be very interesting to see.
Sure, where can I get a new paint job for my bike and so on?
Yeah, exactly. Or, schedule this or schedule that. Little things like that. That won't be of interest. But, chances are at some point he's emailed something through that account that he shouldn't have, and he'll have to be held to account for it.
Where do you see him going?
I see him kind of just quietly retiring and going on the speaking circuit maybe, and trying to pass off the greenest city stuff. There's a big look, if you Google, green conferences, green building conferences, you'll find, every weekend there's another big conference somewhere in the world in nice fancy locations where people get together and talk about how to be greener. That's been the brand he's been cultivating for a long time. He's got the Happy Planet Juice side. He's got now the Greenest City initiative. So he can probably be, have a stump speech, spend a couple weekends a month out and about, traveling the world, and still live quite comfortably. The one thing about Gregor that makes him different than most politicians is he doesn't need the money. That's why retirement or leaving politics was, a much easier decision for him than it is for a lot of politicians. He knows that he's financially well taken care of.
Well, he can always run bicycle tours around Vancouver.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get him a job on one of those trucks that move the Shaw Go bikes around. That could be entertaining. It is weird, right? Like, what do these mayors do? Greg Moore in Port Coquitlam, former head of Metro Vancouver. At one point, he was sort of lobbying quietly to be the next CEO of TransLink after we defeated him in the TransLink tax referendum. That never really panned out. It's kind of awkward. Like, what are the next jobs for long-serving mayors like that? It's always interesting to kind of see where they land.
I think that the imported TransLink director or chairman from Seattle is doing a good job. And I'm surprised I haven't seen yet. Something that they have in Seattle is strobe lights on the bus that give them green lights all the way through, so you actually can travel pretty fast on a bus like they do in Seattle.
Yeah, I suspect there are certain routes that would benefit from that.
Of course, we have so much congestion.
This is the problem with knowing if he's done a good job or not. We have to wait and see. You have to give it a couple of years to see what kind of things. It's easy to say he's doing a good job now because everything we see is proactively being disclosed by him, right? He puts out, we're doing this plan, we're doing that plan. You have to give him a couple of years, and then the Bob Mackins, the Janet Browns of the world, the Chris Sims from the Taxpayers Federation, they'll start digging into his record and seeing what's not being released proactively, and that will give us a better measure of how this new regime is doing.
Well, so far nothing's being done to rebuild the Patello Bridge, replace the Massey Tunnel, and get rapid transit out to UBC yet.
Oh, exactly. So if you're judging him on big projects, then he's been a failure so far. Mobility pricing is going to be a big headache for TransLink this fall. I mean, there's no way that drivers are going to accept that. We've had John Horgan stand up and promise a toll-free BC. This flies in the face of that. Groups like, the Taxpayers Federation, and I can guarantee you, us at the Independent Contractors and Businesses Association, will be fighting that tooth and nail because it's, yet another tax on overtaxed drivers.
We also have the highest gasoline taxes.
It's easy to look good in calm times.
And I was going to say too, Greater Vancouver, it's the highest gasoline taxes in Canada and the highest prices. What would it do?
Highest in North America. In fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would it do for business if those taxes went up even higher?
Well, exactly, and they are going higher. I mean, we have a carbon tax increase coming on April 1st, a couple cents a liter. So, we're going to go from 51 cents a liter in gas tax to 53. This is the big problem for TransLink, right? Like, the problem for TransLink is they don't want a revenue neutral shift. One thing if they were saying, look, we get $400 million a year or whatever it is from gas tax, but, with electric vehicles or some that are slipping through the net, instead we'd like to get $400 million from mobility pricing. It'll be revenue neutral. Yeah, some people will pay more, some people will pay less, but, we're not getting any more money. The problem is TransLink wants $250 million more a year, which means, basically increasing the gas tax by 50% or more. Now, they'll call it mobility pricing and try to do it that way, but the bottom line is everyone will end up paying more. And if there's one thing that's been very clear, Metro Vancouver residents believe TransLink has the resources, both within itself and within city halls across the region. They have the financial resources to pay for infrastructure expansion. They don't need to take more money from us.
Well, people also say if you're going to start giving us higher taxes, carbon taxes, what's our alternative to using our private vehicles if there aren't improvements in transit? Yeah,
well, good point. There have to be improvements. We still have nothing on Uber, although I see Airbnb and the city of Vancouver coming, or province of British Columbia cutting a deal today. It sounds like there'll be a special tax on Airbnb that'll go to affordable housing. Maybe that's the model to get Uber here finally, is a small contribution towards transit or road infrastructure from every ride. we just don't. Because the mayors have put all their eggs in this one basket on this transit plan, they've completely ignored their other responsibilities around transportation infrastructure, and paralyze the region while they try to sort out, while they just continue to refuse to reprioritize their spending to put transportation first.
Well, it'd be nice to see coordinated traffic lights for one thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's simple solutions on a lot of this stuff, so you can't turn a blind eye to it. And that's one thing that, I got to hand to Derek Horgan is that, he doesn't always just knee-jerk to the most expensive fancy solution. He sits there and says, buses are the backbone of this transit system. We should invest more in buses. Is it sexy like, SkyTrain lines and subways? No. But, at least it's a little bit more nuts and bolts. He's been the biggest voice against the, what they call the gondola that Translink keeps floating for Burnaby Mountain. He says, it's kind of over the top, and why bother? Let's put that money into buses instead. So, I'm hoping that a little bit of common sense may emerge at the Translink mayor's table. Although, if you wait for common sense from the lower mainland mayors, chances are you're waiting a long time.
Well, I've been at Translink meetings where they have discussed briefly having elevated busways. So instead of having a train, you have buses up there. It worked very well at the Brazilian Olympics, and it's a whole lot more affordable than having a train, because if you need a bus somewhere, you can just take it off that elevated way and put it back on the road.
That's a good idea. I mean, are they thinking of these out-of-the-box solutions? Good question.
Jordan, always fun chatting with you.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Jim.
My guest has been Jordan, formerly Bateman, who's now Bateman again. Communications Director for Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Any questions for the show or guests can be sent to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.